Hello and welcome to another Big Finish review. In this Big Finish review I'll be looking at the second part of the 5th Doctor E-Space trilogy, Equilibrium. So without further ado, let's do my usual procedure. So for the cover art we have the Doctor Who logo there, Peter Davison, Equilibrium by Matt Fitton. Then we have Peter Davison's sort of logo there. Then we have the other cast members. And then we have the Castle of Eisenfeld, and we have the 4 main characters, the Doctor, Tegan, Nyssa and Turlough. And then we have these various cogs to give this sort of Series 8 vibe with the cogs, which is interesting. Full cast audio drama. Then we have the Peter Davison there. Equilibrium 196. Then we have the cast list there and what the story's about, so do feel free to pause if you want to know more about the story there. And total runtime is 120 minutes. So for the booklet we have director's notes there, then we have a picture of the cast members there who feature in this story, writer's notes, advertisement for Doctor Who magazine, and some more cast photos. Then we have the next story in the final story of part of this trilogy, the Entropy Plague. Then we have Get More, and then we have credits, and of course the reversible cover if you want to have it more sort of 80s style, which is quite interesting that the 80s logo sort of blends in with the background of the cover. Here we have the disc art, which is exactly the same as now Equilibrium. I thought would have been the weakest out of the 5th Doctor E-Space trilogy, and surprisingly it isn't. I really enjoyed this story. It's a fun little romp of an adventure and it just flies by really. Now the story itself does remind me of Timeworks and 8th Doctor audio, with having a sort of similar concept with Timeworks having about clock stoppers, that you're not allowed to stop working because it's time wasting and all that, whereas this has sort of similar idea with if new people arrive, there has to be a balance, so some people from the village have to die in order to cater for the new people arriving, which is quite a disturbing idea, that there has to be a balanced number. You cannot go over this population number, which is definitely interesting and definitely is a key part of the story, especially later on when some secrets are revealed within the story. Now this does sort of stir a bit of trouble with the 5th Doctor, about the 5th Doctor is always trying to save everybody, and this is an interesting theme and is explored. This is just the scratching on the surface of that theme, whereas the Entropy Plague really does expand on that idea, and I'll talk about that more in depth in my review of that. Cast wise I have to say Turlough gets the most out of the companions. He is the top dog companion in this, because he gets quite a good relationship between the princess character, which is really nice to see that friendship evolve throughout the story. And the way this trilogy's worked, and I've listened to all 3 stories now, is that Tegan is the main focus in Mistfall, Turlough is obviously focused in Equilibrium, and the Entropy Plague is Nyssa. So it's nice to have that balance of those companions. Each, it's not favouriting a certain companion, in each adventure, but it's always going to be Tegan. It's nice to have a balance, to let other companions shine, which is great. Now Nyssa, she is second place because she has some really great moments between the 5th Doctor, and does sort of forebode and sort of foreshadows Nyssa's time in the TARDIS, and it's definitely an interesting motif, and definitely a nice moment between her and the 5th Doctor. Now Tegan herself doesn't get much to do, but in the end of the story, when the story is about to finish, that's when Tegan starts to fall into sort of place and does link into the next story, because all these stories, Mistfall and Equilibrium, do lead on from each other, so it's a very continuous feeling, so you can't just cherry pick these stories. Other cast members, Anita Bedland, who plays the sort of Queen of Eisenfeld, does a fantastic job, superb. And I do like Joanna Kirkland, who played the Princess, who has great chemistry with Mark Strickson's character Turlough. So conclusion wise, great story, fantastic. I love the music on this. The music I love, the sound design really does create this sort of Arctic tundra. Now I like the fact that there isn't much of a threat with like the snow and stuff, and I like that, but it's not, you don't have to have this big foe in it. It can be quite a light foe, because this story is very much a character piece in my eyes, for certain characters, which is fantastic. So I suppose it's time to rate Equilibrium. Equilibrium, I'm going to give 8 celeries out of 10. Definitely worth checking out, because it's been quite an interesting story and it hasn't disappointed, and it's just overall a great story. So I highly recommend Equilibrium. So yeah, thank you very much for watching this review. My next review will be of the next story of this trilogy, The Entropy Plague. So for now, goodbye.